according to this clock. Well, I guess. I call to order the October 22nd, 2025 Area Board of Zoning Appeals meeting of Tippecanoe County. First item on the agenda is the roll call.
Steve Clevenger.
Present.
Gary Schroeder.
Present.
Tim Vanderplatz.
Present.
Robert Novak.
Present.
Brad Halberg.
Present.
Ed Butz.
Present.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Next item, approval of the previous meeting minutes.
I move to approve the meeting, or I move to approve the minutes from the September 24th, 2025 BZA public hearing as submitted.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are adopted as submitted. New business, Ryan, please.
Okay, I think item 1 we may table to administrative matters while we get copies made. So we'll hold for the explanation at that time. All right, well, happier news. I'd like to introduce our new recording secretary, Danielle Clarkson. She's joining us from the great state of Utah. So we're delighted to have her, and she's been at the job and off to the races. And so wanted to, this will be her first BZA appearance, so I wanted to make that introduction. Other than that, the cases are ready to go.
Thank you, and welcome, Danielle. I will go ahead and hear our public hearing motion, please.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendations on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from checkpoint agencies.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to briefly describe our procedures for the meeting. Each case will be heard following a motion and a second from the board. We will ask the staff to report on its findings. Following the staff report, we will ask the petitioner to present his or her case, after which anyone wishing to support the petitioner's request for a variance or special exception will be asked to come forward. After hearing from the petitioner and those speaking on his or her behalf, you will ask those speaking against the petition to present their arguments. The petitioner will then be allowed to rebut arguments raised by those in opposition to his or her petition. Following the rebuttal, the board may wish to ask questions of the petitioner, supporters, and opponents of the petition or of the staff. The staff will have the opportunity at this time to make any necessary clarifying comments. We will then vote by use of a prescribed ballot. 4 votes are necessary to make any decision. In the absence of 4 votes, either for or against, the petition is automatically continued to the next meeting. Please observe the following guidelines for the sake of time and fairness to all. State your name and address for the record before you speak. If you're not the petitioner, please sign in at the staff table after you speak. Limit your remarks to 5 minutes or less. Do not repeat arguments that have been brought up by others. Remember that all visual aids used to support your arguments will remain the property of the board. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. Please step out of the room before using your cell phone. With that in mind, we'll hear the first case.
I move to hear and vote on BZA 2212, William P. and Gail G. Gettings. Petitioner and owner requests the following variances for a proposed addition to a single-family home in an R1 zone. 1, to reduce a south side setback from the required 6 feet to 1 foot along the extent of the property line not included in a previously approved BZA 2180 UZO 2-1-9, and number 2, to increase the required building coverage from the maximum allowed 30% to 31.3%, UZO 2-1-6. The 0.32 acre property is Lot 113 of the Northwestern Heights subdivision, more commonly known as 1619 Western Drive, West Lafayette, Wabash 18, Northwest 23-4.
I second.
Motion and a second, and we'll hear from staff, please. Nathan?
Evening, everybody. Nathan McBurnett, APC staff. We're over here by Campen Course, I think it is. One of these variances, as Robert said, has been heard previously. It's a setback variance that you all heard last November. So there was the proposed, that was for a legally non-conforming setback, but now that they're expanding the house and expanding beyond that approved site plan, that's why we're back here. And then the building coverage standard is also being requested to be reduced. Close-up of the property. This is the site plan of the proposed addition. It's a pretty significant addition. We're looking along the south property line there, where you can see the 1 foot current setback of the existing house. So just moving straight to the tests, staff believes that it passes all the tests except for test 4. There's nothing uncommon about this property compared to other R1 zone properties, especially in the subdivision. And then notoriously, number 5, we don't see a hardship here. There's no conditions of the property currently that stop the petitioner from enjoying it as a single-family home. So with that, staff is recommending denial. Thanks.
Thank you. Petitioner, his or her representative.
Thank you. My name's Bill Gettings, and my wife Gail is with me. Number one, as last time, the staff, very helpful. Really appreciate it because they guided me through this sort of a tough task. Essentially, what we want to do is with the new addition that you can see up there, and I don't know if I'm looking, it's the bottom left on that south side. We are planning on going out the rear without extending beyond the current south side of the house. So we're not going any further. We're going on a very straight line. When we petitioned for the variance in November, we did not know at the time that we were going to do this addition, trying to make everything on one level. As it turns out, when we went for the building permit, we learned that the variance we received last time did not continue on a straight line for that addition. So we're asking that the previously granted setback continue so that we can extend the addition to the rear of the house. And as I said, it will actually be on a straight continuing line with the existing perimeter of the home. That's it in a nutshell. Are there any questions on that? Does that make sense?
Just to clarify, we may have more questions for you later.
Sure.
But it's the proposed addition and the new covered porch are what's different with this site plan compared to the last site plan.
Thank you.
That
is new, as well as the addition making the courtyard to the north. We put 2 additions on.
Okay. So the proposed addition on the north side and back, and then the proposed addition on the south side.
Correct.
And the new covered porch.
Right.
The
north
proposed
side
patio was in the original site plan.
Yes, correct.
And then also the existing garage and the proposed addition out front were in the existing site
That's what we
plan.
received the variance for, correct.
Just to clarify, so that everyone knows what we're looking at.
Thank you. Thank you. No, exactly. That's it in a nutshell, and I would be glad to take any questions. Again, our idea here is that with the planners, the architects, and the engineers, we've been working hard to put everything on one level for us so that we can make this the home for the rest of our natural lives. And that's the goal, and been a member of the community for a lifetime with a short time away, and we want to do everything we can to be good neighbors. And we believe that it's going to improve the neighborhood, and we have tried to meet with people, and some we've succeeded with and others we haven't. So we're trying to do what we can. I'm trying to think if I'm leaving anything out. Oh, and on the 31.3%, with these two additions, we are exceeding the 30%, so that's part of it. Our builder, asked us to ask for 33% as a little wiggle room. And I said, well, I didn't put that in the request, so if they honor that, so be it. If they don't, I don't know how to proceed. So I'm asking for the 33% at the suggestion of our builder for a little wiggle room. That is not in the formal request. 31.3 is.
Is there an issue with that, since that is an increase from what is in the petition? Either staff or legal counsel? I don't think we can increase the percentage without re-advertising.
That's correct.
I'm not going to lose any sleep over that.
Okay.
That was my builder's request.
If you had
An
asked
increase-
for 33 to begin with.
We'd have to continue the case if we
Yeah.
increase.
I do not want to do that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I stay for questions, or am I through?
We'll ask for others to speak first, and then we'll have you back up for
Thank you very
questions.
much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition to the petition? Please come forward.
Hello, first time here. Justin McCarthy. I live just south of there, 1609. I guess my only real concern is the fact that I too, at some point, want to do an addition to my house, and that may limit me in the future if it's closer to my house is my concern. I don't know how else to explain that, but that's what I have. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And if you could sign it. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, if you'd like to come up and rebut, and then we can ask you questions as well.
I apologize. I didn't understand it. Can you?
Your neighbor to the south is concerned, since you are encroaching on your setback,
Yes.
asking for a variance,
Yes.
that he may want to expand his house at some point, add an addition on, and that it may prevent him from expanding based on, potential fire codes and distances, separations between buildings.
I understand the question. I'm not sure I know how to answer that.
I think what he's saying is you're going from 6 foot, which is a standard setback, to
Yes.
1
Right.
foot.
Yes?
So if he proposed to do the same thing to extend his house from 6 feet to 1 foot, you'd have 2 feet between those houses. That's the way I understand his concern. Okay.
The only thing that I will say about our expansion is that as you look at it, and you can see the fireplace there, can you all see where I mean the fireplace is? The south side setbacks were drawn in this neighborhood after the homes were erected. So the setback that's there today, prior to us getting the approval on the variance for the garage, are laying across the house as it sits right now. So essentially, the setbacks are inside the home now as we speak, and we are not building any further out than the existing fireplace on the front and closer to the house in the exterior. So we're not going any further out. We're going on an exactly straight line. I hope that appeases. That's all I have.
Okay.
So to clarify.
Please.
On the side setback, to reduce south side setback from 6 feet to 1 feet. So what you're saying, the existing setback is only 1 foot?
I think the existing setback, I don't know exactly, but I think it's 3 feet on the inside of the perimeter of the house.
I was just going to clarify,
There, you can-
petitioner's correct, he's not requesting anything more than what he already has in terms of how close it is to the property line.
Essentially,
answer
the
you?
proposed addition out front is 1 foot, and the fireplace is 1 foot,
Right,
but then the rest of the house is 3 feet
yes. I think that makes sense.
approximately.
This area. And then. Those are the two closest points I'm referring to.
Right.
Everything else is further than 1 foot back.
Did that answer your question?
It does answer my question, and now I see the building setback and dotted line, and it
Yes.
looks like possibly the house was just shifted to the south. Looks like you have some room to the north. If they would have put it within inside the building envelope, it would be okay? Is that a correct assumption? See the building envelope in a dotted line, building setback.
That's the property line. Oh, sorry,
it-
Gary, I see what
there's
you're
just
saying. Yes, right.
A
Correct.
foot or two there on the north side. We don't have a layout of the neighborhood that shows the lot to the south to see how it's positioned on its lot.
We don't have a close-up other than these two aerials. Yeah.
But it sounds like, it's my understanding, a question to staff, that the setback lines were platted after the houses were built.
That's correct.
Yes, it appears
That's my
that way.
understanding. That's correct. We were told that. And again, I guess just to be clear, I want to make it very clear that our addition to the rear is going straight back with the existing perimeter of the house. Absolutely no closer. And by definition, with the setback that is listed right now atop of the house, it's going to be in violation. That's why we need this. When we received it in November, I was on the assumption that just line continued. But because we didn't have these drawings and we didn't know we were doing them at the time, it wasn't included. I don't want to take up any
And
more of
I
your
guess
time.
a question for the neighbor that's to the south.
Just,
I don't recall what your name was.
Justin.
Justin, okay, thank you. How far from the property line is your house, do you know?
I don't know, but if that drawing is correct, then 10 feet? I don't, just a guess.
So you do have some additional space there. Do you know on the south side? I'm just curious.
On the south side of their property, yes.
On the south side of your property.
be the
I've
north
got-
side of his,
On,
north side.
North side of my property is.
well, no,
left.
I'm also asking about the south side. I'm just curious if all of the lots are skewed or if it's just this particular lot.
That I don't know. I have a paved area plus air conditioning and things on that side of the house. Or paver stone, brick stone. And then there's a fence for the neighbors that.
Right. But if you were to, for instance, if you wanted to expand and wanted to extend backward from your property, I don't think that there would be an issue with closeness. It would only be if you encroached to the
Right.
north of your property, if that makes sense.
Actually,
If you were to extend your house, if you were to add on and to extend back, that I don't think that there would be an issue there. But if you were to extend to the north, then that could potentially cause some issues.
right.
Okay, thank you.
So Justin, before you go, I want to make sure you understand, he's not asking any more. His house was just set 1 foot from the property line.
Right.
And then his new building is going to be in line with that fireplace, so it's not
Okay.
much more, but I mean, you raise a good point, and it looks like your house is pretty wide.
And
according to Beacon.
actually, it's not, it's actually set back with the rest of the house, not with the fireplace.
I thought his expansion was going to be in line with the fireplace.
No, the expansion's in line with the rest of the current house.
Right, that,
Okay.
Gary, that
Yeah.
portion was on the previously approved site plan there to the front of the property.
Oh, that was already approved?
Yeah, we
Okay,
approved
I
that,
apologize. Thank you for
Yeah.
that clarification.
but
Okay.
the part around the fireplace, on either side of the fireplace
Was
is where
not.
the
Okay.
extension is. So it's
Okay.
not any closer than where the existing house is, not the
Okay, I
proposed
understand now.
addition that was already approved.
Thank you. Now I understand.
Anyone else have questions? Hearing none, we have a ballot. We have two ballots.
All right, on variance number 1, 6 ballots cast, 6 yes, 0 no. On ballot variance number 2, 6 ballots cast, 6 yes, 0 no.
Both of those variances have been approved, and we'll hear the next case, please.
I move to hear and vote on BZA 2213 BC Cent LLC. Petitioner, represented by Drew T. Tharp of Gutwein Law, requests the following variances for 2 proposed additional dwelling units within the existing footprint of a multi-family apartment building in an R4W zone. Number 1, to reduce the minimum required parking from 54 spaces to 47 spaces, UZO 4-6-4. Number 2, to reduce the minimum required vegetation coverage from 30% to 28%, UZO 2-12-7. The site is lot number 1 of Boardwalk subdivision, more commonly known as 420 South Chauncey Avenue, West Lafayette, Wabash 19, Southeast 23-4.
Second.
Motion and a second, and we'll hear from staff, please. Nathan?
Nathan McBurnett, APC staff. We're over here off of William Street. This specific property here, it's between a mix of lower scale multifamily or lower density multifamily and single family and two family homes, most if not all of which are rented primarily to Purdue students. This particular property was rezoned to R4W in preparation for this expansion earlier this year in the summer. So now they're just coming back for a parking variance. Their idea is to add 2 additional units onto the southern portion of the building, if I'm correct. Drew can correct me when he's up here if I'm wrong, but this is the part of the building that's going to be converted into the 2 additional units, which requires a parking reduction. There is no proposed change to the parking that's already on site. Those 47 spaces are already there. The parking standard just is changing. And then the green space coverage requirement is being requested. It's currently legally non-conforming. In 2016, the city actually acquired around 800 square feet of frontage from this property along William Street for the expansion of William Street to kind of widen it for the roundabout. So based on my calculation, a rough calculation, that property that was taken by the city, if not for that, then this building would have been extremely close to the green space coverage requirement, would have been 0.5% off. So it can be argued whether that's conforming or not, 0.5%. So get some site plan here. Again, other than the conversion within the existing footprint, there's no proposed changes. Some pictures of the site. It's called Nichols Apartments. It's managed by BK Management. These are some images of that leasing office area and the garage area that's going to be converted. Some more pictures, and then up at the top left corner, that's that frontage along William Street that was acquired by the city and widened. So yeah, getting to the tests, the parking standard that's being requested is 1.47, which is significantly higher than a lot of recent development in this area. The most recently approved project that's not yet been started is the approach plan development. It's further to the east, near the roundabout on the northwest corner of the roundabout. The parking standard approved for that was 0.66, so it's significantly lower than this. We're in an area that's somewhat nearby campus. 3 bus stops are within a block. There is ample street parking in the neighborhood, including there to the west. And so for those reasons, staff sees imposing the current parking standard on this property, while it wasn't imposed on neighboring recent development, as evidence of a hardship. And for the green space variance, we're recommending approval as well, because that was due to a city's taking that they're kind of under on that. So yeah, staff's recommending approval on both. Thanks.
Thank you. Petitioner, his or her representative.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Clark. Nathan said we are seeking 2 variances.
Hey, Drew, you might turn your mic on up there. He may have turned it off. There you go. Thank you.
Is that better? There we go. This property was rezoned over the summer in anticipation of the addition of 2 units to the building here. The footprint of the building would not change. It's just converting some office space and storage space in the garage that's currently underused and would be better served as additional units. So we went ahead, got the rezone to R4W, and these items are kind of just the natural steps to clean up the remaining outliers to proceed with this further development.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition to the petition? Questions from the board? I've got a quick one for staff. I noticed that the ballot items in the staff report were written in a singular but mentioned both. So I'm assuming the everything applies to both variances?
I don't understand. Can you restate the
it's-
question, please?
Everything is written, it says, determine that the variance requested is not a use variance instead of variances. And there's two
Yes,
variances.
I missed the yes. My apologies.
Okay, I mean, it's throughout the whole one, but it's, I just wanted to make sure that it's,
Yes, applies
the
to both.
reason, it mentions both of them throughout, and I just want to confirm that since it says variance, that it applies to both. That I'm
Correct.
not missing something.
You're not missing anything.
Okay, thank you. You have something, Robert?
I do. For staff, interesting picture. You timed it, or it would not you, but it was timed for the one time that everyone else was out of town, as far as the parking goes. To say that this isn't as bad because we made another approval of something that was a lot less parking. To say ample street parking, I don't seem to go over there and ever find ample parking available. Has the staff ever went out and asked, after these things were approved, of what the tenants felt the parking situation was? We always come and hear that our parking regulations are out of date. We should have them changed, but they've never been taken up to be formally changed. A lot of times when you take a look at a situation like this, where do the delivery people park? Where, in wintertime, where do you go with snow? And when we have fewer and fewer parking spaces, where does all this go? But I think that it's an interesting thing. Did we ever talk after these things are built to see how the people that live there, if they really do experience all these, ample parking and no problem with finding parking spots? I think that perhaps we are going to a problem here. And there again, that one aerial photo, well, these photographs are starting to show a lot more, cars in the spots, but to reduce the overall parking by over 10%, that's a big thing. So has anybody ever went ahead and actually conducted any type of research into what people think after this is approved?
It's a good question, Robert. No, not to my knowledge. We don't go and sort of assess the impact of any variance that's been approved for parking. I was on site today. Obviously, in these pictures, it looks a bit more full than it did in those aerials. I did count over 10 parking spaces that weren't being used. I understand that that's not evidence of what the typical usage is of the site. I think staff would argue that, in an urban area like this, especially next to a major university that is increasing in enrollment pretty significantly year to year, the assumption shouldn't be that every student has a car, nor should it be that every student should have a car. We don't want an auto-centric neighborhood close to campus like this. And I think reducing our parking standards near the urban core of West Lafayette is generally good practice.
Thank you.
And I'll invite Chad up in case the city has anything they want to say.
I was going to ask Chad
So
if he had
take it
any
away, Chad.
comments too, but I know that the city, or at least some of the city council members have had some questions about some of the
Yeah.
projects with parking as well. Chad?
Chad Spitznagel, AO. Just like affordable housing and parking and some other stuff, it seems to be the hot button that's coming up now. We agree with staff's, recommendation on it as well. I mean, you've got bus traffic along Williams, any excess stuff. There's not a residential stuff. And I think the main thing with parking is they're in school from August 20th to December 5th, December 20th, and then January to May. So these parking lots sit empty all summer, over the Christmas breaks, and it's football season. Yeah, it's, things get busy then. So obviously that's why parking is becoming an issue at this point and such. So, when we're negotiating the plan developments and high rise, that's when we planned the $120 million State Street. It was for densification and walking, so traffic wasn't going through there. So, that's why those per bed stuff shrinks, and when we get away from campus, we definitely want one parking space per unit at minimum. So I think this still falls within good numbers for it, and agree with staff's recommendation.
For during summertime and stuff, you have to figure out when the maximum use of that building is going to be. But does the city ever have any reports of citizens or visitors saying that there's not enough parking?
I think if, not to interrupt you, but I think if we were getting, those reports from students that, hey, we can't find parking, then we would obviously be up here saying, hey, we need to increase those things. So it's no different than some other items. We're not getting those contacts from students saying, hey, I need some ample parking. Well, if they need the ample parking, they're planning ahead of time and making sure that they're securing their parking needed.
So what would be a good parking ratio then for West Lafayette?
Again, it varies, on location. If you're outside of the densification area of the high-rise stuff, then yeah, you think, one per unit or one per family on it. But if you're in that area where you've got a bus stop, right along Williams, I think we can get by with below the one on there. This one's obviously got more than what the high-rise densification stuff is, but there's still ample parking.
Well, because I think that even with those, even somewhere around one, which is grossly inefficient, what happens when you have visitors, parents coming in, things along that line, people who do want cars, and there again, when you have the support of in this day and age, DoorDash and these type of people coming up, we still have to provide things for that. We have to go ahead and provide these spots. And when you're getting into this urban area, once again, when you add in the handicap spots that would be required for a building of this size, that there again, if you have those people that need those spots, they use the spot, but if you don't, I can't go ahead and park in that spot. So that kind of limits a bit more to where we say 47, but really we have less than 47. And with all these things, I just think that we are really going in a bad direction.
And I respect your opinion on that. I think the DoorDash people call and somebody meets them out, or the high rises have loading zones for every type of delivery. I guess another example on the densification of parking, you can go to Meijer, Menards, Walmart, and 362 days out of the year, you've got 70 to 100 spaces that are just sitting there, blowing up asphalt pavement with no spaces in them. So, do you plan for it and make them spend extra money on structured parking, which I think the last structured parking price I got per space was $60,000 for a structured parking space. So it goes back to, affordability of a building, but yet we need to add all this infrastructure, for something that's an issue, really 18 weeks out of the year, and high demand weekends or that. So,
but based on that type of an argument, why add on more spaces then? If it's to what your ratio is, I mean.
We had talked at one point about having parking maximums for the box stores and other things. So I think you're right. I think an additional parking study, could or should happen on even, medium ground projects like this on what's a valid number.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. To me, it looks like, there'll be a total of 34 units with 47 parking spaces.
Yeah, you've kind of raised two different things. There's the parking for the people that live there.
Correct.
And then you also mentioned, visitors and
Visitors
others. Now you're starting to swerve into public parking.
Right.
The universe of public parking. And the two don't necessarily mix together. And so there's a line of thinking that could say, well, the burden of public parking should be put on the developer. And so every development should contain an X amount of visitor parking. So then the city sort of sheds its responsibility for off-street public parking instead of public parking garages or lots and just build it into projects. That's one strategy, you know. But then, you know, there's others where cities will try in their densified areas to create strategic locations for public parking, garages, lots, and there's lots of ways of accomplishing that. And so, you know, so especially to accommodate what I heard you refer to, Robert, you know, visitors and others, people coming in, they don't live there. They don't have routine business here. They're just popping in, visit their, you know, family, friends, what have you, go to a game. You know, these are specific users. And, you know, to that end, I think that does, you know, raise a bigger question. I mean, I've talked with past economic development directors in the city about, wouldn't it be nice if we had maybe a cross-jurisdictional parking authority that, you know, actually we had a, you know, cross-jurisdictional parking program for public parking, you know, so that in our urban areas. Oh, Nathan's got something else.
Sorry, I don't mean to belabor the point here, but we do a student rental report every year. So we do a survey of students. It's been 2 years running right now, and I'm currently analyzing the data. It's specifically for students who live off campus, who live in those near campus areas, asking them how they get to campus, what's their form of travel to work, to campus, to home, those sorts of things. Less than 60% of students who live off campus actually drive a car. And there is an opportunity in the survey for them to report on any issues that they have with transportation related to their housing. And based on all those free responses that I've looked at, there have been very few mentions of parking being a difficulty in getting to and from campus. So that is, you know, qualitative, and that's not representative in the entire campus population, but it is, you know, data that we have.
Yeah. I do have another quick question about parking for the petitioner. How is parking controlled? Do they have a permit that they have in their car for?
You know, I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
Okay.
You know, I can tell you, obviously, this is primarily a student housing project, and in the decades that it's been operational, with its proximity to campus for walking, with its proximity to bus routes, parking has never been an issue that has been raised to my attention, but I'm not sure if it's passes or permits or what have you.
Okay, thank you.
If it helps, my son is staying in a BK management apartment right now, and they just go by license plate. There's no permit.
Okay. So they do check then, at least occasionally, if there are problems,
Probably.
they can look at license plates and tow cars if needed. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, we've got 2 ballots.
All right, variance number 1, 6 ballots cast, 5 yes, 1 no. Ballot Variance number 2, 6 ballots cast, 6 yes, 0 no.
Both variances have been granted. Administrative matters. I know we've got number 1 from above.
Yeah, let's get back to number 1. So, brief introduction. So as you all know, Rainbow Trout has filed suit against the BZA. This happens rarely, but I guess we were due. Anyway, so the initiative now is Withered Burns is playing a supportive role to our principal attorney, Mark Crandley from Indianapolis. Barnes & Thornburg is the firm who will be representing the board in this matter. And so we are in the midst of the prep work leading up to it. And so, Eric, if you want to take it from here.
Sure. As Ryan indicated, it's unusual, but when you look at it statewide, this happens quite often. And it is common when there is a dispute of this nature that a Board of Zoning Appeals is asked by their lawyers, because this is lawyer-judge stuff, quite frankly, to prepare, as we have done, prepare findings of fact, and to then bring those findings of fact to the Board of Zoning Appeals. You don't do it the same night. You can't get them prepared. We could have stayed here till 8 a.m., I suppose, but we didn't, and I'm glad we didn't. And so it is common for those to be prepared, and then to bring them to the Board of Zoning Appeals as a body. So what's important to remember is that you are looking backwards, and you as a body are being asked to look backwards. You're not changing your vote. You're not changing your opinion. You are merely saying, you know, this is what happened back in August, and these are the things that were laid on the table by the various parties involved, and that we as a group hereby lay this out for the judge's assistance, quite frankly. The first and foremost job is to create the record for the judge. The judge is going to look at the record, and the record has everything that was presented. This will be part of the record, and this will serve as, you could look at it as a summary of what happened. And you, the Board of Zoning Appeals, are going to look at the document in front of you, which has an extra cover page. You've probably noticed. If you look at that, I think there's 2 page ones, so pop the first one off, and you'll see it's a double-sided 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. Just want to make sure everybody's got one, because I'm going to be asking you to look at yours and make sure that this reflects the decision of the BZA. Does that mean that every single finding on here is exactly what you believe 100%? Not at all. That's not the point. The point of it is to have the body itself speak so that it will be in writing, it'll be part of the record, and the judge will then have an idea of what the board considered. There are things on here that were, again, these were brought out from the record. I did not do it. Patrick did it, who was not present, but what he did is he went through the record, pulled these facts, and you'll see that they're facts for the majority, 4 of you, who voted no on the rezone or on the Rainbow Trout project, special exception. So that is something that he did from the record itself. So this is reflective of the record. It's not based on memory, it's based on what was there. So what I would ask you to do is to look through it and to determine if you believe that these findings reflect the decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Looking backwards, does this reflect the decision that was made? There's a lot of stuff in here that you may find as well. Yeah, of course, it was filed under BZA number 2199. Those are the kinds of things that you probably don't need to spend a whole lot of time working over in your brain, but then you get into the specific facts considered by the majority, which is on page 4. You have specific facts that were considered by the minority. Again, you don't have to say, I believe in those minority facts, or you don't have to say, I believe in those majority opinion facts. You just have to say, yeah, that's what was presented and that's what was considered. So if you see something in here that's a finding that you just think is wrong, it just didn't occur, it's just not part of any record, and that Patrick got it wrong, then you have the option to cross it out and put your initials by it, because this is your document. What I would indicate is that your vote is not going to change and could not change by this document. So when you look at the signature lines, if you were in the majority of 4, you're still going to be in the majority of 4. You're going to sign this document, and it's going to indicate that this is what historically happened. If you are in the minority of 3, there are 2 of you here present. As you know, Rabita is no longer with us, so don't even worry about her signature line. I'm just going to write absent on it. And so if you would look through those, and I am happy to answer any questions that you might have about the process itself or anything else.
Good, and it includes both the findings of fact that were the ballot item, or I should say, the reasonings that we gave for both of those in opposed and in opposition.
That is correct, because you, as the members, are doing nothing more than saying to the judge, in essence,
Right.
looking back, this is what occurred. And again, you're not changing your vote. You're not saying that every single finding was critically important to you or that it was even important to you, but rather it was
Right.
it was at least considered by the majority or support.
This has
of that.
no bearing on that, just to make sure. That we want to include the
Yeah.
yes votes
No, I
regardless of the
That is
president's
correct.
motion.
Yeah, you could not, if you were in the minority and you didn't sign it, it's not going to have any legal impact if you just
Right.
decide, I don't want to sign it. But as far as the majority, we need a majority. The BZA can only act through a majority. And so that's why
Right.
we put it before you and ask you to make any modifications that you feel are necessary, but otherwise sign it as the majority speaking about what happened in August at this Board of Zoning Appeals hearing.
And these findings represent our reasoning on the ballot, but not necessarily specific to a ballot item as presented in the staff report.
I agree. It's more
Since we changed our ballot to no longer have the individual
right.
ballot item votes.
That is correct. I agree with that.
Okay. I just am getting some
No,
clarifications.
again, it doesn't happen very often here, and
Right.
statewide, we got 92 counties, so it does happen.
I think the last one was the Quarry case.
It's been a bit. That's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Yeah,
Do we need,
yeah, we're going to do it. If you would each just go ahead and sign yours, and then we're going to combine them.
One more question
Yes, sir.
for clarification. On page 5,
Yep,
item 7,
yep.
second line, there's a couple words in there that I don't understand. Maybe those are legal
Is this
terms.
approval of the petition and the contemplation of the proposed project would inhibit growth and development on the real estate and in the areas of Tippecanoe County surrounding the real estate? Is that what,
Number 7,
I'm sorry?
page 5,
I'm looking-
VII.
Right, and did I just read that?
Second line, have detrimental effect on the local flora?
Oh, I'm sorry, miss, local flora. Yeah,
What's flora?
flora,
I looked at
plants.
plant life?
Plants
that's
and
plant.
Plants and animals.
Plants, yeah.
And funnel is, okay, I
Yeah.
learned something.
I'm
Very
sorry,
good.
I just read the wrong VII. I hate VIIs for a lot of reasons. I'll have to tell Patrick to knock it off.
It's all right. Number 7, VI. Okay, very good.
So we don't have a single one that we want to sign,
I
Just
think not. I think
sign
it's just easier.
the individual, it's just like our ballots.
Yeah, if there are, and that's because if there are changes, I want your changes to be reflected in your.
Gotcha.
In yours. And what we'll do is we'll give the record, what's called counterparts, meaning that we're going to have 6 signature pages that will
Right.
be attached to the body of the document. So if you would, and I'm sorry about that misspelling.
It's fine with the rest of the document, it's just on the signature line.
Isn't that funny?
It's all good.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
So we just need to date it also, it looks like.
And yeah,
Right,
today's date
dated.
is the 22nd, please. Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? Oh, I didn't put the date right.
What'd you do? I think that works, 10/22.
Okay.
That'll
It
work.
says date of.
Oh, yeah, that's all right.
but-
That works fine.
I missed the blanks.
There you go. Very good, and that is all. Appreciate your assistance in getting this done.
Yep, thank you.
And in terms of the next steps, you want to let them know the next date that's coming up?
The next what that's coming up?
The next step in the process, there's a date coming up, I believe, early November.
That is correct. What we have is a status hearing that is going to be actually probably when the judge is going to make some decisions, it sounds like, from the way he has talked about it. And he's expediting the case. I will tell you that. It's pretty obvious to everybody involved that he, being the circuit court judge, Sean Person, is doing everything he can to move it forward, to get a resolution of it. But things do tend to drag, as all of you probably are aware.
Thank
So
you.
it says that there's a status conference on December 1st.
Yeah.
Is there one before that?
No, I think it was early December. You said late
Was that
November.
December 1st. I've got the,
Yeah,
That's
you
the
got
status
Courtview up.
conference?
Yeah.
Okay.
it is on Courtview if you want to search
Yeah,
for it.
you can look it
So
up.
it's-
Maybe it was just the submission deadline for the,
I think
it's
that's
For
what
this
it
business.
is,
For the
yeah.
record.
yeah, for the record, okay.
I
Screwing
think
up
there was
dates.
so
My
many, I think there was
apologies. Yeah.
45 days or something,
And it's
wasn't it?
pretty much done.
You're right.
The record is pretty much done.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you. One last thing, a completely different matter. The happier matter, I would say so. So this was introduced at APC by Amanda, but we have an idea that we think might be beneficial. We're kind of calling them, to the board members, we're calling them kind of planning pointers. Basically, a series of kind of brief educational sessions for board members that are relevant to your job here on the board, both in terms of tasks, the law, hot topics, those sorts of things. And so we're envisioning having prepared items and even, soliciting, topics from board members, if there's things you'd like us to explore that we could present to everyone. 5 to 10 minute little presentations, discussions, Q&As at the administrative matters level. So after we've had our cases and the public is, at least the folks that have had cases have moved on, when we have a light case load. And at the discretion of the board themselves. And so if there are certain board members that have to run, it'll be at your discretion, because this is for you. And so for those evenings where you do have the time and you'd like to invest in that time, we want to be prepared with these little presentations. And so if there's interest in that, we would like to offer that to you. So any questions about that?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
So it's, no 1 a.m. sessions, though.
No.
And it's my understanding that the public can stay and listen as well.
Yes, yeah, there's
So
nothing
it's maybe
confidential.
educational
Yeah,
to
they
to
welcome
the
to
public if
learn
they're-
too,
Right.
They might become future board members, so,
Right.
so, yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else have any comments?
Do you have a list of items already?
Amanda's kind of running with this, so she, I think, already has some ideas in mind. I actually have a few, nothing to share right now, but I do, like I said, I do welcome input. If there's ones you'd like us to zero in on or learn more about, that would be, we'd be happy to, do that for you, so.
Parking might be one.
Yeah.
Right, Robert?
Parking, yeah. So, all right, thanks.
Anyone else have anything? Gary?
Well, just a general comment, and I didn't want to be late during the case, but in theory, I agree with Robert on parking. Historically, we've been a community that's required a lot of parking, has had a lot of parking, and maybe as things change, we're reducing down. The mall doesn't need the parking, the shopping centers don't need the parking even now on the heavy shopping days. They're not as busy as they used to be. But I don't want to go completely the other way, where we become that community that doesn't have a parking, and you end up on TV on parking wars, just because there's no place to park. So, and some communities do that on purpose because they think you want to get rid of cars, but we're not going to. So anyway, he's not alone in that. I'm just, I'm aware of it, and hopefully we don't go the other way too far.
Right. No.
Gary, thank you for your comment. One of the things that I kind of, even though it went to fall under us, when they were talking about the farmers market area here in town, I have some friends that have businesses on there and people that live around there, and they were like, what? They're going to reduce more parking. And that is where it kind of got into the point of asking the individuals what, their thoughts were on how this is all working out, because they're the ones, be it the residents and also the business people, of how this, parking is going, because if it's planned in for the housing or if it's public, I think a lot of the public spaces are used by the housing people too, but that might be one of our topics.
Yeah, I've noticed, on the west side, for instance, if you want to stop by and, pick up food somewhere that is not north of, of 52 or Lindbergh Road, you have problems finding parking just to go in and pick something up. I mean, a lot of it is now paid parking where you have to actually pay for. I'm thinking of like Papa John's on State and Airport Road there. There's no place to park if you want to go in and pick up an order that you submitted. I mean, you take a risk of parking for 2 minutes outside in one of the new metered spots.
That might be worth bringing up to the street department, honestly.
Yeah. I've thought about it, but I just haven't done that. So, any other comments? Unless any member has an objection, the chair will order the findings of each member casting a vote for the majority decision of the board to be the collective findings of the board in support of the decision of the board. Hearing none, it is so ordered. And I'll take the last motion, please.
I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, I got a techie question. You got cameras that are shooting all over, taking pictures of parking lots all over town, right? I mean, they're just there for security. And if you downloaded that and did some sort of a time motion study, AI guys, you're not going to sit there looking, but just think if you had that 1 year's worth of just video, and you'd have to make sure you collect it because they get rid of it after 30 days.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that tell us exactly what you're talking about here? That there's this poor guy who's trying to deliver some food and he can't even find a spot. That it would identify hot spots of time where it wasn't well laid out for parking. And
it might very well be an old guy that drives a land yacht and complains because he can't park the dogs.
Well, right. But it could show it in some sort of graphic form that would not just be estimates, but it would be actual based on the video. So make that AI program, would you please?